Where does the name of God come from? Hey everybody, I'm Dan McClellan. I'm a scholar of the Bible and religion, and according to the Hebrew Bible, the divine name is spelled Yod-He-Vav-He, or YHWH, and this is known as the Tetragrammaton, which is Greek for the four letters. But there are other spellings in the Bible as well, such as just Yod-He or Yod-He-Vav. Now, many of y'all know that as an accommodation to the Jewish members of my audience, I do not use the most commonly accepted reconstruction of the pronunciation of the divine name. Instead, I use the substitution Adonai, which is a special form of the Hebrew word for Lord. But the Tetragrammaton is either based on a verb or based on a noun. And while I want to discuss a couple of theories that understand it to be based on a noun, I think the majority view is that it is based on a verb, and specifically the verbal root haya. This is, after all, the folk etymology that we find in Exodus 3, where God tells Moses to tell the Israelites that Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh sent him, which would be I am what I am, or I will be what I will be. So there's a long-standing association of the divine name with the verbal root haya. And I think for a long time, the leading theory was that it was actually a causative form of that verbal root. So the Tetragrammaton would mean he creates or causes to be. And this theory usually also suggests that the divine name was originally part of a longer compound sentence name, Adonai El. And so God's name was originally El creates. And so the name would have reference to the creator status of the God of Israel. But there are other theories as well that understand it as a noun. For instance, there's a fascinating discussion in this volume from a few years ago by Josef Troper, which is an English translation of an earlier German article, that suggests the original spelling was just Yod-He-Vav, and that the final He is actually a mater lectionis indicating the absolutive state. And this would match the inscriptional spellings of, for instance, the name Asherah that we find at Kuntilat Ajrud. But this theory has not found widespread acceptance. Another fascinating theory, which I think was represented very well in Daniel Fleming's recent book, suggests that it is based on the name of a people or the name of a place. And this goes to some 14th and 13th century Egyptian inscriptions that long predate the earliest occurrence of the divine name in a Northwest Semitic language. And we find there a reference to nomadic groups known as Shasu, and one of them is the Shasu of the land, and then the Egyptian spells out YHW and then a glottal stop. And a lot of scholars think this is a form of the divine name before it was actually a divine name, but was the name of a people group or the name of the land that they occupied. And according to this theory, this nomadic group migrated into the central or northern hill country, bringing with them their patron deity, who was named after the land or the people, and that then entered the Israelite pantheon as a second-tier deity whose name was the Tetragrammaton. And then later on, that deity would be conflated with the Northwest Semitic high deity El, who pre-existed the arrival of these Shasu people into that territory. I think this is a fascinating theory that merits a lot more investigation. But for the time being, the most common theory is that Adonai, the Tetragrammaton, is based somehow on the verbal root Haya, which means to be or to become. And the fit for this video is Wolverine.